Hey everyone, this is Sal from Geek.com, and I'm here with the Canon PowerShot A620. This is basically my old beater camera. I bought it maybe 4 or 5 years ago for $200. It's served me well over the last 4 years, but since then I've upgraded a number of times, and it just doesn't compare with the newer cameras I have, like the Canon S95 I'm shooting this video with. So what I wanted to show everyone today is a way to get some extra life out of their old Canon point and shoot. And what that is something called Chdk. That's the Canon Hack Development Kit. And that's basically a firmware you put on an SD card and it runs over Canon's firmware, your stock firmware. It doesn't modify or delete the firmware, so this is safe to run on newer cameras, but it is super effective on older cameras because of the extra stuff it could do. So let's just hop into it. All you have to do is Google Chdk and Wikia, and you'll find the page where you can download the software you need, and there are some really smooth installation instructions on how you make a bootable SD card, and that's actually what we're running it off of. To do that, the main thing you need, aside from a computer, is an SD card that's not over 2 gigabytes, because the file system that the firmware needs to be fat, and for that you can't run it on an 8 gigabyte card or whatever you're probably using these days. Anyway, so we'll turn it on. Let's see, it's gonna be tough to get it zoomed in properly, but let's go anyway. And you'll see it says Chdk, something about my firmware, blah blah blah, and then this looks like the normal Canon system, right? ISO. It's on manual, so you can see. It's just normal Canon on-screen display. But what happens is when you press this button here, you'll see it might be hard to pick up. Basically, what happens now is you get two options, and this is a sort of an overlaid menu. We also see it's different up here. That's gonna be hard for you guys to pull in, but on top we see a battery gauge, battery life percentage, then a clock, and then we see our CCD temperature, which is definitely not stuff that Canon uses on their normal firmware. And then on the bottom it says time-lapse photo, and then alt. Time-lapse photo is the kind of the script I have loaded on my Chdk right now. Obviously that time-lapse is not something built in to Canon's A620. So what we do is we shut that off. Let's turn it back on, and let's go into our menu. Sorry, that's our scripting menu, and then we can go into our main menu. Main menu, again, this might be hard for you guys to pick up. So the main menu of Chdk shows just how much this firmware could do, and some of those things include extra photo operations. Let's just hop into that. So override shutter speed enum type, override aperture, bracketing in continuous mode, custom auto ISO. So there's a lot of stuff here that this camera could theoretically do, but it needed a firmware overhaul to be able to do. Other things you could do is put on raw shooting. I have it turned off right now, but you can do that if you want. You could change your raw file prefix, your raw file extension. You could shoot in DNG format, raw buffer cache. There's a lot of advanced features here. Custom histogram, zebra parameters, so that'll show hotspots in your photos, visual settings, miscellaneous stuff. Miscellaneous stuff gets really crazy. You have a file browser for your SD card, calendar, text file reader, games, flashlight mode, and some other stuff that you definitely don't see on your standard Canon. The main thing for this is not just the way that we've augmented the firmware. Obviously raw shooting is great, and that's going to be a big selling point for people, but what I really like are the scripts. So basically what you do here is you could load pretty simple scripts on this. You could write your own, or you could use ones that other people have written. And what they allowed you to do is things like HDR time lapse. That's what I've been working with lately. Or you can do a normal time lapse. You could also do set this for motion detection mode, or you have ultra intervalometer, which is it's basically a time lapse, but with a lot of settings. You know, delayed first shot in minutes and seconds, number of shots, interval. You could set it for endless. You know, so it's a powerful intervalometer built right into this $200 camera, or $200 a couple years ago. So it's really impressive, because you know, what it lets you do is get advanced features. You know, I just bought an intervalometer, and it wasn't that cheap. You know, if you want to buy Canons, it's $125, and you're building a lot of those functions right into a relatively inexpensive camera. For added effect, you could get the Chdk and you could put it on an S95 or an S90, and then you have these advanced features on a really solid point and shoot. So you really could augment the camera. Anyway, I just wanted to show everyone these, and highly recommend Chdk. It's a really fun project. The first time you set it up, it'll take you about an hour to get going, which you got to set up the bootable SD card, and you're going to learn how the scripts work and stuff like that. It's not super intuitive, but it's definitely not difficult, and there's a pretty solid support on Wikia's page. So if you know a little bit about cameras, you will be able to get it going in no time. Anyway, that's Sal from Geek.com with Chdk and the Canon PowerShot A620. Thanks for watching.